You're welcome back to the AM Club here on MX24. Thank you so much for choosing us. We're getting straight into Lifestyle Daily, and the conversation is on promoting menstrual health awareness in May. And we have our guests in the studio, coming to help us have this particular conversation. Joining us in the studio this morning is Dr. Isaac Secorm. He's an obstetrician. I practiced this word the entire morning. How I'm getting this wrong right now is the devil against me. He's an obstetrician and also a gynecologist at Secorm Medical and Fertility Center. Good morning.
Good morning.
I mentioned it well when you came.
You tried.
How? And also we have in the studio Aisha Addo, founder, Power to Girls Foundation. Hi Aisha, how are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm fine, thank you.
It's good to have you here, darling. Anyway, so let's go straight into the conversation this morning, and we're going to give a bit of a background to what we are discussing this morning. We're talking menstruation, promoting that a natural biological process, and that's what it is, menstruation. Okay, is a natural biological process experienced by individuals with female reproductive systems and has been shrouded in taboos and misconceptions across cultures throughout history. And particularly here in Ghana, we have had different types of conversation around it. And I mean, sometimes you feel like you are not part of human beings when you're in that space. For women, only us understand. But some men are doing very well understanding that particular, biological cycle of ours. But I'm going to start with Mr. Secorm here. He'll give us the scientific aspect of what menstrual cycle is in women, because he deals with women.
Well, thank you, Mimi. So when it comes to the menstrual cycle, it's something that is unique to women. And the sense that the woman's reproductive system, when you say the reproductive system, you are looking at the woman's vagina, the cervix, the uterus, and then the tubes, and also the ovaries. So each of them are supposed to do specific things in the woman's life. So when it comes to the menstrual cycle, it's a whole system. It's a cycle. Cycle means that it's something that keeps repeating itself. Keeps repeating, and it's more like automatic.
Yeah.
It's supposed to repeat itself. And God is so wonderful in the sense that it is highly regulated. So there's a time when you are supposed to have your menses, supposed to ovulate, and also the next menses comes in. Everything there's a clock that does that. The idea is that the womb of every woman who is reproductive, who is fertile, like in that stage to be able to have babies, is prepared every month to receive a baby. And it lays down like a carpet, a woolen carpet, so that it will be soft on the baby when the baby comes in. That's how it's done. So at the end of the month, when there's no fertilization, when there's no baby supposed to come, then that carpet that was laid for the baby has to shed off. And that shedding off process comes like blood. And that's what we see as menses. So the menses coming in. And after your menses, there's another important event called ovulation. When you lay the egg, that is supposed to be fertilized to become a baby. So if that ovulation takes place, and then if there's no fertilization, then the next cycle comes in with the start of the menses. So the menstrual cycle, the start of it is the menses, but that's not the only thing that happens, because it's the most visible thing you're going to see on the woman. So that's what's the beginning of the menses, the beginning of the cycle.
At least we have context now to have this particular conversation. Over the years, we have had different cultures express certain, some sort of dissatisfaction around women who are ovulating. We've had people say when the woman is menstruating, you shouldn't go around her. She shouldn't cook for me. She shouldn't do anything for me until she's done. When she's done, she has to bath a certain water to get herself clean. How do we overcome these phases of women's life to normalize, menstruation for women?
So as we started from the beginning, it's a normal part of the woman.
Yes.
I mean, when I was growing up, I grew up in Jayankwanta in BA.
Yeah.
And then I remember in our house, we had different buckets for men and women.
Yes.
So those, I don't even remember 34 buckets.
Yes.
Oh, maybe some of you were young.
I was young, but
there
I
was 34 buckets, and then there was the smaller one. So my grandfather, I mean, there was a 134 bucket for him alone. I mean, you can't. So there were separate buckets for men and women, because it's expected that the woman will menstruate. So when she's menstruating, the whole thing becomes quite unclean.
Yeah.
The bucket becomes unclean. Everything, and then in some places you're not supposed to cook.
Yes.
You can't cook when you are in your menses. Yeah. And then also some of them, you're supposed to go and hide. I mean, during that process, you're supposed to hide. Some of them cannot go to some churches because of these things. So this stigma has been with some women, and growing up, some of the men, when you are in your menses, you have to stay away from them. I mean, you have to go to be in a different room, sort of. But these are things that we need to change. Because it's just a natural part of the woman. That's what makes the woman a woman.
Yeah.
So menses is good. And when women don't have their menses, it's a huge burden on them.
Yeah.
So when a woman says I have a menses, it's a good thing. That shows that the woman is more likely fertile.
Oh, more likely fertile. So does that mean that you can't be menstruating and not be fertile?
Oh yes, definitely.
Okay. Tell me about that.
There are many women who menstruate but are not fertile. So fertility has a lot of factors that will make a woman fertile.
Okay.
I mean, we have to talk about the woman's egg being produced. That's the ovaries being able to lay egg every month. And there's also a tube that when the egg is laid, the egg must pass through that tube. So if that tube is blocked, then the woman cannot get pregnant. And also the womb is where the menses comes from.
Yes.
Can also have some factors. The other thing is the man. Whose sperm might not be strong enough.
Because we can't blame it all on the women. A few years ago, a friend of mine and I embarked on, we want to explore certain villages. And we found that a village somewhere in the Pong area is called Volivo. And what they do is that when it's the girl's time to menstruate, they use all sorts of strange things. Some of them I can't mention them on live television. And we're like, at that time it was, I think, 2017. We're like, why are young people still struggling with sanitary pads and all these things in this day and age? And at the time we said 21st century. You have started an amazing project. Tell me about your project.
So first, thank you so much for having me here. So my organization is Priority Girls Foundation, and we work primarily with girls. And one of the main things that we hear a lot of is, access to sanitary pads. Even in Accra, you don't even have to go too far. Like here in Accra, that's something that a lot of folks deal with. But I think for us, the awakening moment was we did a project in BA, and BA has one of the highest rate of teenage pregnancies here in the country. So we were in one of the communities and we're having conversations with the girls, and we came to find out that, there were instances where young girls were having sex with older men to be able to afford sanitary pads. Some of them were voluntarily getting pregnant in order for them to not be able to get their periods because they couldn't afford sanitary pads. And I think that was, of course, there are other factors around poverty and all of those different things, but it really got us thinking around, period poverty and how that in itself affects young girls, because our work primarily is with young girls. Here in Ghana today, if a lady makes 80 cedis, 13 to 15 cedis of that amount is spent on sanitary pads. And if you actually do the calculation of how many pads a woman uses throughout the year and throughout even her menstruating years, it's quite a lot. So that's a burden that specifically for young people that are not working, that might not necessarily be coming from, privileged backgrounds or privileged communities, that would be, an issue. And then we go into the issue of folks using rags, you know, different things. You know, some people use leaves.
Some don't even go to school throughout
Exactly,
the entire,
right? So
you know.
about 1 in 3 girls miss school as a result of their period. And if you think about, you know, on average, a woman bleeds 5 to 7, and there are some people that it's even like 14 days throughout the month. So imagine if you're bleeding for 14 days and you're not able to go to school for 14 days every single month. That in itself would affect your overall well-being. So that is where we come in. So we are embarking on this project called the Flow Project in partnership with Flow Wellness GH. And essentially so it's two-pronged. So we're going into different schools and providing menstrual health hygiene trainings, as well as menstrual kits. But then I think the part that I'm absolutely very excited about is the opportunity to actually renovate some washrooms in some of the schools. Because, you know, I don't know if any of you have entered, like, you know, a school washroom or even a public washroom.
I don't want to speak right now. I don't want to speak right now.
And it's just that, you know, it's different, you know, and I think that in itself also affects, like, you know, the way that, you know, you treat your period, because a lot of people don't know that they're supposed to actually change their pads every 2 to 4 hours, you know, and when you don't have access to the sanitary pad and you have, like, let's say 1 pack for the entire month and you're bleeding for 7 days, it's, you know, you ration it. So what we're doing is that we're renovating washrooms and then we're stocking them with sanitary pads as well to make access to education easier, but then also making sure that the girls have access to the things that they need, because pads are a necessity. They're not a luxury as it's been classified. So it's really important that we start that conversation and see how it affects young girls. Yeah.
You know, I'm quiet all this while. I'm quiet all this while because as men, we are already around wives. We're already around sisters. We're around cousins. I mean, I literally even grew up with my cousins who were females. So I mean, there's a lot to the whole menstruation conversation. We want to actually thank you for this project that you're embarking on.
Thank you.
And I did just do a little bit of a check back with the Flow Wellness project and all that. With regards to renovating the washroom and also providing probably a dispensary, you know, how are you going to navigate this with the widespread, or let's say the number of students that we have, especially, I mean, because we have a wide population with that. How are you going to navigate it through? Because when that comes in, and even if, let's say, there is an issue of the ladies not getting the sanitary pads on a regular, there would be fights, there would be conflicts here and there. How are you planning to manage
Why are you smiling like you're already having that?
No, because it's a question that the team always has to think about, right? So we talk about, okay, we're putting a dispensary. What if someone takes more than they need, right?
Exactly.
And I feel like we cannot avoid that. So for us, we're taking it one step at a time. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But then the other aspect is creating a sense of ownership within the girls. And that's something that for us, like as an organization, we're very big on, is that when you give something to someone as a gift, right? The way that they would treat it is based off of like how it's a gift. It's no longer yours. It's something that you're giving to them. So for us, we're very big on getting the girls to understand that in order for you to constantly get this, you have to treat it with respect. But then it also comes from a place of you cannot, you know, when you hoard, that means that your fellow girl would not be able to get it. But I think it's also
responsibility.
Exactly. But then we also have a scarcity mindset sometimes. So it's because like, oh my God, if I don't take it, then that means the next time that I come, it's not going to be there. But for us, we're saying that no, it's going to be there. So you don't have to hoard it. So that is what we're hoping to instill in the girls and in the communities that we go into, that like once we set this up, it is your responsibility to care for it. It's your responsibility to maintain it. However, it is also yours. So treat it as you would treat something that belongs to you.
Okay.
So that's how we're working
But
around
not to
that.
cut you, with respect to supervision too as well, what are the strategies that are being put in
You,
place?
you just want me to reveal the entire business plan here today.
Because I want
No,
my viewers to know.
that's a
about
really
it.
good question, though.
Yeah.
So we're definitely working hand in hand with the schools.
Okay.
We're working with the teachers.
Okay.
Most of the schools that we are hoping to put these dispensaries in, the teachers are aware, you know, so they usually give us like a patron that in a sense will support in that process. So it's not necessarily just us coming in and doing whatever we want. We are working hand in hand with the schools and the students to create, again, that sense of responsibility and that sense of ownership, because without that, honestly, all the things that we're doing would not be, yeah.
go down the drain.
And I think specifically for also students that might not necessarily be in the schools that we have the pads, our partner Flow Wellness has a campaign going on right now where if you need a sanitary pad, you just send them a message and they'll send you one.
so?
Yeah, but this is specifically for young girls. I want to reiterate reiterate that part.
How young is
Specifically,
young?
so
Exactly, how
specifically
young
for
is young?
JHS and SHS students.
Students,
Yeah, so
But
that's
there are women who are above that also struggle to. Now the taxes on sanitary pads, so they are quite expensive. Those that used to be 13 cities are now 20, 25, 30 cities.
exactly. So we will get there.
We'll get
But
there.
right now, we really want to focus on the young girls because, again, their education is at stake as a result of
Okay. Doc, can I come to you a little bit? I got crushed and I was really, really upset, really, really mad when a story did broke out, I think, just this year, just a few months ago, where a lady lost her life. Yes, you're looking at me like you're surprised. Yes, I don't know whether that was but that was what was put out there. A lady lost her life due to menstruation.
How?
And I don't know how that happened. So I was very curious. As a man, I was just sitting there, I was just heartbroken. I was like, how is it that she will lose her life because of menstruation? Is that possible in the first place? Can a lady lose her life due to menstruation? Because this is a flow of blood that is coming out of you.
Thank you, Kojo. So when it comes to menstruation, I wish I could know the details of that
Yeah.
story,
Yeah.
but I'll just speak in general terms. So there's something we call abnormal uterine bleeding. That's when the menses is either excessive
Okay.
or prolonged,
Okay.
and it has the ability to impact on the daily life of the client or the lady. So the abnormal uterine bleeding, there are many causes, several causes that can make a woman overbleed.
Okay.
So if the woman overbleeds, you know that blood, the normal menses that we have is not that much.
Okay.
I mean, it's supposed to be about a maximum of about 80 mils the whole period.
yeah.
And 80 mils, I mean, it comes in small. You don't get out like, okay, today I've flown on my 80 mils. Then
Yeah.
I'm okay.
I'm okay for the day.
But it comes small.
Exactly.
But when the menstrual blood is more than 80 mil, that could be dangerous. Because the menstrual blood, as I told you, is a laying up of that carpet. That has to be shed off. So when the blood is flowing more, that means that it's coming from, now it's not just the carpet that is laid, but now coming from the person's blood itself.
Oh, okay.
You see, the vessels, the blood vessels, the small pipes that the blood flows through, they are supposed to, as soon as you bleed off, you're supposed to close.
Okay.
So that no more further bleeding occurs. But in some people, like people who have maybe fibroids, there's something we call polyps. Polyps are small outgrowth of the endometrium, the lining of the uterus. Sometimes too, you can have abnormalities, some small infections in the endometrium. All these things, and then some people have some clotting disorders, and then it means that when you start bleeding, it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So if this woman keeps bleeding every month, keeps bleeding, and it's every 4 weeks.
I like the way the women in the room are
Yeah,
showing
we're
the face of disgust.
different.
Like, oh my
And
God, you guys don't understand.
It's every 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And every 4 weeks, the woman bleeds. So if you bleed and you don't have enough time to replenish
Yeah.
what you are bleeding, what you've lost, and unfortunately, some don't have access to health care.
Yes.
So if you don't have access to health care, to the right person who can manage you, then there's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because just last, I mean, a woman came just last week. I saw the woman with HB of 2. HB of 2. I mean, it's supposed to be about 11 minimum. And she's walking around with 2.
Hey, wow. It's whoa.
Yes. So when you are walking around with 2, your next menses,
you're dead.
Can just die off.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the. We want to put a bit more education in this, so that's why we're having this conversation. 2 things. One, how do we totally eradicate these cultural beliefs that makes menstruation look so bad? And also for the men, because Jay mentioned that, you're around women, you need to understand, in some relationships, some women genuinely go through so much pain through that period of menstruation. And some men actually think that, she just wants my attention. Can you throw more light on these things, these 2 aspects of menstruation, so that we can move on with the conversation, please?
Right. So in terms of let me talk about the pain.
The pain first, yes.
Why they have the pain. So these things there are lots of hormones involved, and there's a structure down there called the uterus. So sometimes the hormones, together with the uterus, trying to bring out the blood, can be very painful. And it can be, some people, they get a lot of cramps, and unfortunately, it's if you're not oriented properly, they might sound disgusting.
Yeah.
So there was one time I had a staff where I worked in Rara Hospital. There was this staff who had a lot of pain. Every month, like, there's so much pain. So I said, no, your menstrual pain is too much. Come and let me see you. I just went to examine her, and I realized she had a huge fibroid. Very huge. So we operated on her, and then she got better. Sometimes the pain,
there's a reason for it.
There could be a reason for that.
As a result of something else.
So if a woman is always in pain, we shouldn't just say that, this pain. There's something we call pure premenstrual cramps or syndrome. Those are just the normal. But when it becomes too much,
when it's severe,
some people can't do anything.
Yes.
Like they are down for 7 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those people need to seek medical advice. Okay. But there's some things that we do for them. We can predict, okay, your man is going to come in 2 days' time. We start giving some medications that can actually help to ease those symptoms. I'm trying to remember the first part of the question.
Is the cultural aspects where we make menses look so bad and evil.
That's why I'm happy people like Aisha are coming to the space. I mean, they are doing very well. Unfortunately, gynecologists and then doctors, there's so much on our hands.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be in theater.
Hey.
There are 5 cases in theater. My boss started doing the cases. I have to go and join him.
Yeah.
So we are when people like Aisha come into the space, they understand the cultural, they're able to move closer to them. Men, we have to support them. You have to really understand that this is something that is not easy. And every 4 weeks, you have to shed blood. It's quite. But if we empower women, we keep empowering women. We give them the space. We give them what they need to make them strong in the society, supporting the society. We can go a long way to support and eradicate some of these things.
Yeah, and the cultural aspect, some of it is the education. I believe that there needs to be more education being pushed into the system so that, because we make Ghana look like Accra. And Ghana is beyond Accra. That's why I love that she's gone beyond Accra. Even though we have cases like that in Accra, because one of the projects that I had to go and support, it was in Teshi somewhere. And the girls were rushing for sanitary pads. And how? Yeah. And so the educational aspect, what can we do to sound the education a bit more in people's ears? Because you're a doctor, you understand these things.
We need to start from our schools.
Yeah.
We start from our schools because the kids are going to school. And then if we the curriculum should make it friendly for them to understand these things. I remember when I was in class 6, I remember this clearly. Class 6, there was one of my mates. I realized that there was some, and she was a little bit older than us, about 1 or 2 years older than us. So of course, she was going to be one of the people who are going to have their menses earlier than the others. So I realized, the lady was moving around like that, like struggling. Then other colleagues, other friends will come and move, and then they'll go out, and they'll come back. When she came, I realized that her school the uniform was stained with blood. I said, "Hey," started having her menses.
Yeah.
It was so something that she didn't prepare for.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that goes to the point of, like, you know, when you're in school and you get your period and you have no idea, like, you know, what it is. Like, you're like,
I wish there was somebody I could ask, what was your first experience having menses?
yeah.
But I can ask him, and I won't tell mine too, so let's just move on.
So it's something that we need to be prepared.
Absolutely.
Both the girls and the boys.
Yeah.
There should be practical sessions. Bring sanitary pad to the classroom. Teach them this is how to use it.
Yeah.
Let the boys, they should hold the sanitary pad. This is a sanitary pad. They should understand.
It's not the devil's mantle.
Yes. But let them know that, okay, this is what, if the woman is having, make the woman be able to bring the next generation. So when we start these things right from the beginning, then it becomes something that we can inculcate
And normalize.
I think what we can probably do, it starts from the education bit. So if there is a course code or if there's a subject, there should be a subject on menstruation.
I think it's part of social science, no?
Yeah.
Is it? Do we hammer on it that much?
So I think that's where Doc's suggestion of bringing a practical, because me, in my school, that is what they did for us. And I was in class 5 when, you know, that session came in. They used tissue and showed us how, if by mistake you're not at home when it happened, you could rush into a washroom to you know, they taught you how to wrap you do the straight and then wrap the middle. And so when my menses came, I wasn't prepared. I was at home though. So my mom wasn't there. I quickly went to do that. And I was trying to tell her that it happened. Yeah. But so again, the educational aspect of it is also important. Please, your final words on this particular conversation. Do I start with you? Yes, you.
So menses is something that is so common. A woman will have it once a month. So we shouldn't shroud it in this kind of mysteries. Something that everybody should get to understand. And then the women out there, there are so many problems with menses. I have a menses, it could come too little, not at all, too much. So if anything, or even in between, it's supposed to be regulated. They're supposed to have it maybe for 5 days. It stops. The next month, it comes again. So if there are problems with these things, please seek help. Because those issues actually they could just tell you that there's a problem underneath. And then it shouldn't be like menses is a taboo. It's not. Rather, it's a glory. I see it as a glory because that makes you be able to bring the next generation.
Doc, before I come to Aisha, I think it differs from every woman too as well. But this is what I just don't get. And maybe because I'm not educated to it that much. But you both of you also just mentioned that you're just there and you just don't know. Sometimes it just comes. You get it.
That's the first time.
Yeah, I think that's like day one.
That's for the first time.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it that every woman, apart from the first time, would definitely know the time that it's supposed to come, yes or no?
Okay.
And when it comes to as well, because sometimes you're watching, some of you have, what's it called?
The app.
The app.
Yeah.
You're watching, it's supposed to come around this time. It's not coming. And you get it. And then they start getting worried too as well. Oh, it's not coming. Meanwhile, consciously, you know you've not gone to have sex.
Yeah.
You get it. Yes, but you're just there and then you just feel like, it's supposed to come, it's not come. Sometimes too, you're expecting it at this particular time and it comes earlier.
Yeah.
So Doc, what's the phenomenon with that?
Okay, so as I said, it's highly regulated.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are hormones that are set as like biological clocks.
Okay.
Are supposed to tell you that come. But you know, these hormones, they can sometimes they vary a little bit.
Okay.
We don't become worried. There are variations to this, even the flow, the amount of flow, there are variations to it. So we can say that, okay, from this amount to this amount is normal.
Okay.
Also, with the days, you have to add plus or minus some 3 days. Or you can delay by this or come earlier than this.
Yeah.
So it's a period. If that's why even safe period is not just 1 day. But in a woman, it's only 1 day that the egg is laid.
Yeah.
But the safe period, it can just vary from time to time.
Okay.
What I want to say is that every woman, you have to study yourself
Yeah.
and know what is your normal. So that, and then also when the variation is becoming like too much, then now you seek help.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the woman, you should prepare when it's getting to around this time. Okay, any moment from this time to this time, I can have it. So you
Yeah.
always move around with your pad ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Aisha, so now let's get into
Your
Your project. So
this year.
when is it starting? Has it already started? What is
So
happening?
we are actually starting our school tour today.
wow.
So we're starting from today all up till next week. We are unveiling the first washroom on International Menstrual Health Day, which is next week as well. So it's quite a busy week.
So which school are you going to today?
So today we're going to Wesley Grammar actually. Yes.
Wesley Grammar.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So we're going to be at Wesley Grammar this morning, and then we have a bunch of other schools planned for the rest of it.
It's a mixed school, right?
It is a mixed school.
I'm excited about that because I
So
thought
that at
probably you
least
guys would
the
just
boys
go to
get to
girls'
know.
school. You just go to girls' school.
We don't go to just boys' school, but unfortunately for this session, it is just for the girls. But I actually love what you talked about in terms of like including guys in the conversation, because I do think that's very, very, very important. Because when it comes to like, especially shaming of young girls when they start their period, usually it comes from the boys.
Yes.
You know, so
That's true.
really just educating them as well is really important. And I think one thing that I would also like to add is the fact that a lot of the times the shame that we experience when it comes to our periods, and even just as a woman, like, you know, your body in itself usually comes from the home. So we really have to start having those conversations. And then when we go into the schools, there may be times when, you know, a young girl might get up and come and say, I want to use the washroom. And she's not necessarily saying why she wants to use the washroom. But a teacher can say, no, you've been to the washroom too many times, sit. But there are different nuances as to like why we don't feel comfortable talking about our bodies and the things that are going on in our bodies. And until we actually break that down and start having those critical conversations, we will be having this conversation again in 10 years.
True.
So it really starts there.
There are some few themes on our board that I'd like us to go through. When I touch and there's anything you want to say about it, you can go ahead. 28th May is supposed to be Menstrual Hygiene Day. So just note that, lock that in, and make sure you look out for a sister on that particular day. Now, that's the theme is from powerless to empowerment and breaking the taboo. Now, whilst we're having a conversation, I turned around and I saw some of the things, and I thought that this is actually really very educative. Menstruation is a natural thing, and you should be proud of it. Now, menstruation is a natural and healthy body process. Another one is entering the kitchen during menstruation will not harm anybody. Nobody dies because someone is cooking.
We heard that the food will be bitter. And I'm like, food will be bitter. In what sense?
It's not true. Non-judgmental and fact-based information can only break the taboos and myth. Note that as well. And also, menstruating women can prepare and handle food just like any other human being. Please, lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning to have this conversation. Aisha, thank you for what you're doing, and we wish you all the very best with it. And Doc, we know that very soon you let people know more about this particular conversation. So God bless you for that. If you're joining us this morning, we have been having a conversation on menstrual health and how we could break the taboo. And I hope we did a thing. We did well to break that. And I hope you understand what the menstrual cycle is now. Now we're moving on to something even more exciting right after this.